in paradise, I kinda like it. In paradise, where can I see your face? Feel the same way, why don't you say my name? Yeah, 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 yeah. In paradise.
All right, so we are back again this week for the second part of our interview with Forest Nash. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
this
was
guy like
great.
does it all, right? Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
amazing.
And this whole story with just him, growing up in the woods of Virginia, right? Which might sound like bad, but to me, every time he talks about this, I'm so envious, right?
I
Uh,
know he had a great childhood.
yeah,
I
he had,
mean,
vegetarian parents, right? He had to play outside all the time, right? Like he was homeschooled, so he never worried about people bullying him for being vegetarian or whatever, right?
yeah.
And like he kind of had it all. It's the kind of thing that people want today. Like I would love that for my kids. So
Mhm.
there's so much to him. And then of course he winds up on Australia. So this is the second part of the interview, and Deb and I are we're basically just asking him questions and he's answering. So
Right.
have a listen and see what you think. Right.
Yeah, enjoy.
All right, let's get started. Yeah, so I think I'm doing, it's either zero point 0.7 or zero point 0.8 grams per pound, like you were talking about. So I guess one of the things I learned when I was counting macros is that I have to treat beans as a carbohydrate source, right? I would have to eat thousands of calories of beans in a day to get 120 grams of protein. So how does having foods like seitan and fava bean tofu, how does that change the landscape for someone like me who only has so many calories to get their protein in?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think foods like that they can be really powerful. And yeah, the ones that you mentioned, seitan, of course, super high protein, basically low and everything else. Fava bean tofu as well, although it's not one that I've had personally. I don't know if it's big in Australia, but like some of my friends here in the States who are into the plant-based bodybuilding swear by it. I think that can be another really good option. And then there are other ones as well, of course, like if you're having TVP or soya chunks, things of that nature, super high protein, low and everything else. Some mock meats as well in that category, but of course you have to check the labels because some of them are not macro friendly at all. And even some foods like nutritional yeast is like almost 50% protein by weight. Not that anyone's going to sit down and eat a bowl of nutritional yeast because that'd be like eating fish food, but you can liberally add it to some of your meals and you can kind of get in a few extra grams of protein that way, in a way that's super nutrient dense. And then of course we have protein powder as well, and I wouldn't shy away from using that if needed. It's a convenience item, but it does really help in some of those situations when you're on lower calories. And so the advantages of those foods is they have a macronutrient breakdown that's more similar to like if you're eating animal products, like if you're having egg whites or, lean meat or things of that nature, but they're still much, much healthier than eating animal products. And of course, as far as the animals and the environment are concerned, they're equally as good as if you're eating whole foods pretty much. And so still massive upside there for sure. And so I think there's absolutely nothing wrong with including those in your diet, particularly if you are on lower calories and you have these sort of body composition goals.
Yeah, for sure. Those have been a big option for me, for sure. All right, so let me ask you this. So someone comes up to you and they've never exercised before, or at least not in a long time. Like maybe, in their 20s and now they're married and it's 20 years later and now they've got, the belly and all that. They want to get started, right? What do you tell them?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good, I love this question. So I think in one word, the best way to start if you're new to exercise or coming back after a long time, start gradually. So that is going to be a really big deal. And I think oftentimes when it comes to fitness in particular, or like starting a new fitness program, people tend to have this idea, and maybe it's because they watch too many Rocky movies or something, but it's like they think you have to wake up at 4 a.m. and down a blender full of egg whites or something and then like go out and pound the pavement. And that maybe feels cool, like you feel like a badass when you first start doing it. But the problem is for most people, it's going to be very unsustainable. It's hard to stick with that. And so what we want to do if you're starting a fitness journey is we want to start in a way that kind of maximizes your chances of being able to stick with it. Because if you can maintain it for the long term, of course, that's where you're going to get the best results. And so what I typically recommend, and this is true like for any new client that I start with, whether they're new to exercise or just starting a new program with me, is we'll start with kind of the minimum effective dose of training. And that I think is a lot lower than what people tend to sort of estimate that it is, especially if they're not familiar with the gym setting and working out. For example, if you've never been to the gym before, it's your first workout, you could go and literally do like one working set of each exercise in a workout. And that can actually give you a good stimulus. And it might feel easy while you're doing it, but that's okay. You might actually get some soreness afterwards. It's quite easy to overdo it, particularly if you're in the gym for the first time. You can do something that doesn't feel that hard at the time, and you can still be sore for days and have a hard time recovering and so on. And so it's always like less is more, I find works really well in the beginning. Because the worst thing that can happen if you do that is like you go and you have an easy week of training for your first week. And that's great because you just build a bunch of momentum, you develop self-efficacy, you feel like this is something that you can do, and you feel like you're already kind of walking, you're moving forward on that path, you're succeeding, and that is huge. And so I think it's a really, really good idea for people to start gradually, do less than you think you should, because people tend to overestimate their capacity and what they can recover from. And on the flip side, probably the worst thing, or one of the worst things you could do if you're new to your sort of fitness journey in the gym, would be to like open up a fitness magazine or Instagram and like copy some workout that a pro bodybuilder is doing. And it's like, sure, that guy looks cool, but you're not him, right? Like he's been training for a decade. He's probably on a kitchen sink's worth of drugs. If you do that workout, you're going to be crippled. You'll be sore for a week or two. And the worst thing that might happen is you might throw up your hands and say, you know what, this whole gym thing is not for me. You might never go back to the gym again. And that would be a tragedy. And so don't do that. Start gradually is a really, really good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely talked about this before, but I think that the way the trainers work here anyway is that you pay for a month in advance. There's something about paying for training where you show up, right? And you'll go and even even if you're just doing a light workout each time where they're working with you, you don't not show up because you've paid. So I kind of like that whole model, and I like having the accountability. Like now I have to go. Right. And I used to think like you were talking about how people just kind of jump in and then they get frustrated. I used to think that, oh man, I have to go to the gym. It's Monday today. Oh, today's a gym day. It's Wednesday. And then like I'm there with my headphones after the trainer showed me what to do now. And I've got my headphones on and I'm doing my music. And now I'm like liking it. And by the 4th or 5th week, I'm like, oh man, it's a workout day, right? Like I got my music. I'm ready to go. So I think your whole attitude changes. And that's when you're receptive to like, I think I could do a little more, right? Like I've been doing the same weight and I don't need the trainer to tell me, hey, I notice like I'm doing this easy now. It's time to move up. So I think kind of that natural progression happens if you can just at least put some time in and change, like you said, little changes or small changes. If you can just put a little bit of time in consistently, I think that you'll start wanting to make more changes.
100%. And that's something too, where it just taking that time, starting off gradually, it gives you the opportunity, one, for your body to physically adapt to that novel stimulus of the training that you're doing, but it also gives you a chance to just build those habits and kind of integrate it into your routine. And we want to really allow the time for that to happen because that takes time as well. And if you're trying to build new habits in any area of life, but you're doing something that's really hard and you feel really beat up from it, it's going to be much harder to continue versus if you start with something small and then you're like, okay, yeah, I just did that and it was fine. And now I'll do a little bit more the next time and so on. That's going to be much more sustainable for the long term. And long-term sustainability is really everything. That's something that I really, really emphasize with all the clients that I work with, because that is what is going to get you the best results. It takes time to get lasting, real results when it comes to building muscle and losing fat. There's no shortcut. There's no quick fix. And so it's not like, oh, we're going to go and do the most hardcore transformation program for 12 weeks and get you in shape. That looks cool in before and after photos, but unfortunately what happens a lot of the time after that after photo is taken is then people kind of fall apart because it was unsustainable. They were training too much, eating too little, whatever it may be. And so it's very important, in my opinion, to take that gradual approach. And for sure, it takes longer and it's for sure worth it because you get to keep your results forever then.
Right. And I like what you said, that it's going to take time. People are like, well, I did it for a month and nothing happened. It's like, no, talk to me in 6 months to a year and we'll see. It's just, they want to shortcut. Yeah.
People tend to be in a hurry, I find, when it comes to achieving their fitness goals.
And I tell people, I'm not training for tomorrow. I'm training for 10, 15, 20 years from now, so I can be independent and I can bring my groceries in and, put my luggage in the overhead compartment, because people are like, what are you training for? I'm like, I'm training for life, for when I'm, 20 years from now. Yeah. So important.
Yeah. For sure. There's a quote, I think maybe it was from Peter Attia that I heard, which I thought was really good. And it was basically something to the effect of, it's not about like how hard of a workout you can do right now. It's about how many workouts you can string together over the course of your life. And so you want to set up your routine, whether it comes to diet or exercise, whatever it may be something that you can see yourself doing for the long term. And that's, I think, super important. Now, when it comes to diet, there is a little bit of nuance to it. And this is actually something maybe we can circle back to what we were talking about earlier when it comes to like being on lower calories, dieting for weight loss and so on. That particularly is not something that you're going to do forever. And I think it's really important to emphasize that as well, because sometimes people get into this kind of dieting mentality, like, oh, I need to lose weight and I'm just going to keep restricting calories and going. And you can do that for a while and you can achieve good success. But oftentimes, again, where people get burned out and where they start to run into issues like rebound weight gain is because they keep going sort of past the point of diminishing returns. And so taking breaks with your training, but also with your diet is really, really important. And taking some time away from being in a calorie deficit and eating at maintenance, or maybe even eating in a surplus to build muscle, or like doing a bit of reverse dieting. Like you mentioned, Joey, your calories are just on the lower end naturally, and that's okay. From a longevity standpoint, that's actually really good to eat less. So that's, I feel good about that for sure. But if you feel like, man, I would just like to be eating a bit more, it's just, the diet's overly restrictive, there are strategies that you can use, like reverse dieting, where you actually build up your calorie intake little by little over a period of months. Again, it takes time, but that can have a really lasting impact. It can give you more flexibility in your overall diet because you just have more calories, more macronutrients available to work with. And then if you ultimately want to lose more weight and more body fat in the future, you can absolutely do that, but it's going to be much more sustainable if you take some breaks along the way. Just like if you're on a road trip, every once in a while, you're going to stop, you're going to stretch your legs, you're going to gas up the car, whatever it may be. Same thing is true on your fitness journey as well.
Good point. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So let me ask you this. I mean, those of us who work out and are trying to build muscle, we are comfortable with creatine. It's been studied. It's like we've heard of it. It's the most studied supplement there is. What do you think about that? And this collagen thing, I don't know much about collagen, but everyone's talking about or selling collagen. Like, I don't know anything about it. What are your thoughts on those two things?
Yeah. So my thoughts are actually opposites on creatine and collagen. So we can unpack both of those a little bit. It sounds like you guys, of course, are already familiar with creatine. It is very widely studied. There's a very compelling body of evidence around it at this point. So it is one of the few kind of sport and fitness supplements that I personally use and recommend. And I have a very sort of skeptical approach when it comes to supplements. I think most of them are not worth your money. And some of them, like maybe there's no evidence that it does what it's claiming it does, but some of them may actually have negative effects. And so I would always encourage people to be very careful about what you're putting into your body. But creatine is one that's been studied extensively over the years. It's been shown to be safe and effective for what it does. And what it does, just briefly, for the listeners, if they're not familiar, is basically creatine is a naturally occurring compound in the body. It exists in our muscle tissue and it's involved in the process of cellular energy production. And so if you supplement with creatine, you can just basically get a little bit extra creatine stores, kind of saturate the muscle tissue with creatine, and that kind of extends your battery when you're doing intense physical activity. So you can perform a little bit better. It might be something to the tune of like, you can do 11 reps instead of 10 because you supplemented with creatine. So it's not huge, but it is like there is a notable benefit there for most folks, and that can translate then to better outcomes when it comes to muscle mass and strength gains and things of that nature, those sort of athletic and body composition goals that a lot of us have. So for that, I think creatine is very well vetted and it does indeed have some benefit. There is also some research coming out nowadays that it has some cognitive benefits as well. I think that's a little bit more in the early stages, so I'd be less confident in making sort of ironclad claims around that, but it seems like there likely is some benefit there as well. And one thing I'll mention as well for folks like us who are not eating meat, if you're on a plant-based diet, is we may actually benefit a little bit more from supplementing with creatine than someone who's eating a lot of meat, because meat is animal muscle. It's kind of gross, but that's what it is. And so it also has some creatine in it. And so if you're eating a lot of meat, you might get a couple extra grams of creatine per day from your diet, still less than if you're supplementing it. Typically a supplemental dose would be like 5 grams a day. But basically what that means is for someone who's not eating meat, you'll see a little bit bigger of a bump up in your creatine intake. So you might see a bigger benefit for that reason. And I want to be very clear, you're not going to be deficient in creatine. If you're eating a plant-based diet, you don't have to supplement it. The body makes all it needs, but you might see a little bit added benefit versus someone who's already eating a ton of meat from taking creatine.
And then what do you think about collagen?
Yeah. So collagen is for sure very popular nowadays. It's kind of a hot topic. There are sort of like vegan collagen supplements out there, or vegan collagen boosters, but the collagen is somewhat similar to creatine in that the body makes all it needs, so we don't have to supplement it. But the difference is if we supplement collagen, it actually doesn't do anything. So collagen is basically, it's a protein, and if you consume it, it goes into your digestive tract and it is broken down into its constituent amino acids, just like any other protein that we consume. And so there's no mechanism by which that is going to then end up as collagen in your body that's somehow benefiting you. It's just amino acids, just like anything else. There are no vegan sources of collagen out there because collagen is only made by animals. But we are animals too, so we make all that we need, so we don't have to supplement with it. So if you see vegan collagen supplements, typically it'll say like a vegan collagen booster or builder or something like that. So they contain ingredients that are meant to theoretically help increase your body's natural production of collagen. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the evidence is there that that actually works. But there are certain foods that we can eat that seem to have some benefit when it comes to boosting collagen production, and also with things like preventing skin aging, which is one of the main reasons I think people are interested in collagen. And so some of those foods are things like kale and other cruciferous vegetables that contain sulforaphane. Those are going to be really good to consume just for boosting collagen levels, but also for kind of maintaining healthy skin. And they're among the healthiest foods on the planet anyway. Soy is another one. There's some compounds in soy that seem to have some benefit there. And then also making sure that you have plenty of vitamin C in your diet. So, plenty of citrus, bell peppers, things like that. And also plenty of B12, which is critical for anyone who's eating a plant-based diet to supplement. But those two nutrients in particular seem to help in terms of maximizing your natural collagen production as well. So if you're interested in collagen, I would say focus more on that dietary side of things. I wouldn't spend your money on supplements. The collagen containing supplements aren't vegan, but they also don't work in the way that they're sort of marketed. And then the collagen boosting ones seem to not really have the evidence there in support of them, unfortunately.
Okay, awesome. I have the same outlook as you. I supplement. We have a drawer full of them at home, and I think they're just, there's some we take the essential ones and all that, but the rest of them I just don't think are unnecessary. All right, so
yeah,
when you post photos, sometimes you'll post photos with like some of my idols, right? I see that you have a photo with Arnold there, and I just love Arnold. You've met Robert Cheek, like you talked about. Another one of my idols, I've met him. Robert Cheek is a very hardworking person, right?
Indeed.
I tell him all the time, like, you're the most hardworking vegan that I've seen, right? So, and a lot of these run the vegan cruise. So you've talked about going on that. You've sold me like I want to go on it. Like, are people approachable on these things? Do you feel can you just go up to them and go, "Hey, I'm a follower. Can we do an interview or something?" Or what happens?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I've had the privilege to meet Robert Cheek a couple of times. The first time was on the vegan cruise. That was way back in 2017. And then I also met him subsequently when I was competing with the Vegan Strong Plant Built team that I'm part of. He was at that event as well. And so Robert in particular, I would say, is probably one of the most approachable people in the world. Like, he's one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. It sounds like you've met him as well, so you probably know what I'm talking about. And so for sure, like, if you see him at some event or something like that, absolutely go up and talk to him. He's super friendly and enthusiastic and outgoing, and just all around great guy. I think very highly of him. He's one of the people who inspired me, early on in my plant-based fitness journey as well. So absolutely, like, a big plug for Robert Cheek in particular, but in general, like, if you're interested in kind of meeting folks in the plant-based nutrition world, the vegan cruise is a great opportunity to go and meet people and do networking. And there are some, again, of the really world-leading experts like Dr. Greger and Esselstyn and Barnard and so on, who are there giving presentations. And they also do book signings and so on. You can go up and talk to them. Typically, there will be like a long line of people who want to talk to them, so they talk for a few minutes. But it's a great opportunity to connect with those people as well.
Yeah, I've always had a positive experience. I don't know if you've ever been to the Natural Food Expo in Anaheim, and like Badass Vegan will be there, and Robert's been there, and they're just super nice. They love it. They love talking to you. So I think they're more than happy to talk to us.
So Deb,
in my experience, most folks are like that in the kind of plant-based world, for sure.
But I think with Robert Cheek, remember last year, Deb, in October, we went to the SoCal Veg Fest, and he was there in his booth with his books. And I'm like, Deb, there's Robert Cheek. I want to, he's one of my idols. And she's like, well, let's go over and say hi. I said, no, Deb, I can't go over and say hi. Like, I don't want to interrupt them. Like, he's standing there, like, trying to sell his book. And she's like, there's no one at the booth. Like, go over and say hi. I'm like, no, let's just walk. And she's like, oh, for crying out loud. Like, pull me over there. And I'm like, oh, hi, Robert. I really struggle with going up to people, but luckily Deb's there to just push me. So
Yeah,
There you
well,
go.
I had already met him a couple times, and he was sweet as can be, so I wasn't worried.
Absolutely.
all right,
And
so
that typically too, just to add to that as well, like I've worked at a few, expos and veg fests and stuff like that. And if you have a table there, like you want people to
Yeah.
come up and talk to you.
Right,
That's what you're
exactly.
there for. So it's
Yeah.
it's great to do that.
So you make your living, first you make your living online by doing online training and online coaching. Like, how does that work? And maybe it's more, it actually works better. But how does that work since it's a non-traditional way of doing it where people aren't there with you? Are they sending you like their macros? Are you like seeing videos? Like, how do you do the online part of it with people?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I've actually done a lot of both over the years. So I got my start in the fitness industry well over 10 years ago now, working as a personal trainer. And so, of course, I was working face-to-face with clients in gyms. And I did that up until probably 2020. And I was also, along the way, I started doing online coaching as well. So I was doing a bit of a hybrid approach. I'd work with some clients in person, some online. And then 2020, I was living in Melbourne. COVID happened. I don't know if you guys heard this, but Melbourne had the dubious accolade of being the most locked down city in the world. So we had about 2 years during which the gyms were not open consistently. And so doing in-person training was not super viable. And so what I did at that time was I just pivoted my business to work with clients fully online. And that actually worked really well for me because I already had clients that I was seeing online. And then some of my in-person folks were also open to doing that because they're like, well, the gym's not an option anymore. And so that made the transition really seamless. And so for sure, it is a little bit on less traditional compared to doing personal training face-to-face in the gym, which people have been doing for decades, of course. But I will say online coaching is a huge thing nowadays. There's tons and tons of people doing it. It's very, very common in the fitness industry. And to come back to what you mentioned at the top, Joey, I think it actually does work better in my experience versus in-person face-to-face training. And that can also be very effective, particularly like you can make sure you're getting a hard workout in, you're really, maintaining a good level of intensity. You can make sure your exercise technique is really good during an in-person session. And that's all super valuable. But the thing is, typically, if I work with a client in person in the gym for an hour, for example, we're just going to be working out for that hour because it takes that much time to do a good workout often. And we'll talk a little bit about nutrition, maybe like when you're resting in between sets and stuff like that. But it's sort of on the margins, and the main focus is that workout. And even if you see somebody a few times per week, it's like still that's the main thing that you're going to be focusing on. Versus with online coaching, clients get to train on their own time, so it makes it very flexible. They don't have to meet me at a specific time at the gym. They can work out at home if they want to. They can train at a different gym. They can be in a different part of the world. And so it works really, really well. It's highly flexible. But it also means then when we have our meetings, because I still see my online clients every week, we chat via Zoom. We can take plenty of time to go over not only the training side of things and, of course, updating their workout programs and so on, but we'll also go really deep on the nutrition and lifestyle component. And that is actually the most impactful factor when it comes to building muscle and losing fat, is making sure that you have your diet on point and having your diet and training working together. But if you had to pick just one or the other, the diet is going to have the biggest impact for sure. And so I think that works really well with online coaching because it gives us the opportunity to really kind of hone in on that. And so to come back to your point, for sure, like I work with clients on their calories and macros. I have them keep track of their diet. They don't have to count calories and macros. Some clients don't do that and they can still get good results. But that is something that I offer to clients is, of course, we'll set custom targets for their calories and macros. And then typically I'll have them sort of, keeping a food diary using an app like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer or something to that effect. And that works really well because then each week when we have our check-ins, we'll actually sit down together and kind of do a food journal review. We'll crunch the numbers, see how their calories and macros are stacking up, look at the specific foods that they're eating as well, and then also review the progress. Like if you want to lose body fat, are you losing weight? If you want to build muscle, are you gaining weight? How are you feeling? Is your hunger level manageable? Are you feeling comfortable with the foods that you're eating? And we can really get in depth with all of that and make sure that we have the diet set up in a way that's conducive to achieving the goals that they have, but also, and this is very important, that's sustainable, that they feel okay about and that they can keep doing. So I don't do a lot of like prescriptive meal plans of like, okay, here's your macros and just eat these specific foods and blah, blah, blah. I like to make it more flexible, give the client the opportunity to choose the foods that they actually enjoy, because that's a very personal choice. I don't want to tell anyone what to eat, but we can still talk about different categories of foods and kind of what combinations work well and how to structure your meals like around your workouts and so on, in order to make sure that we're not leaving any cards on the table in that nutrition department. And then also looking at other kind of lifestyle factors. So making sure you're getting plenty of sleep, keeping hydrated, managing stress levels. all of these can play a role. And so I try to take a really holistic approach that takes everything into account, because I find that that produces the best results.
I guess it also solves the problem of making excuses why you can't go to the gym, right? If you've got an online trainer, you can walk to your computer and log
Yeah.
in. And you know what I mean? It's not like you have to drive somewhere. So it kind of ends all that too. Plus you're getting, like you said, a much more you well-covered experience where you're not just standing there and talking about nutrition between sets.
Yeah,
So
very in depth.
Exactly.
yeah, I like
exactly. And on the training side as well, just to expand on that a little bit. So as you said, it kind of takes out the limitations of traveling to a gym. A lot of my clients work out at home, even if they don't have a ton of equipment. You can work out just, with like dumbbells, resistance bands, body weight exercises. You can work out if you're traveling. It's very flexible. And I set up custom tailored training programs for all of my clients. And so I actually have an app that they can download. It walks them through all the workouts. There are video demonstrations of the exercises, so it makes it really easy to follow along. And it's all laid out for them in terms of the number of sets and reps and even things like rest intervals and tempos. So if you have some baseline level of experience with exercise, or even if you're new to it, it's usually something that most people can do. And, start off gradually. Like I was saying earlier, that's really important. Start with a little bit, build it up over time as you get comfortable with it, as you build that into your routine. And then each week we'll touch base during our check-ins, and we'll actually get feedback from the client. How are you going with the training? How do the workouts feel? Are you getting sore afterwards? Are you recovering in time? Do you have energy to spare? Could you do more? And then each week we'll update the program just little by little, adding a rep or a little bit of weight or a set here and there to make sure as they get stronger and as they adapt over time, the program will adapt with them, so they keep providing that kind of progressive overloading stimulus, keep making progress over time.
Sounds like an amazing
Yeah.
experience. I can tell you when I went to the trainer, it changed my life, and it was the best money I ever spent. So I would do it again.
Absolutely.
All right. So it's been an amazing conversation with you.
Yeah, I listen to you all day.
We've covered so much.
Great to chat with you guys.
So, Forrest, how can people find you if they want to contact you?
Absolutely. So I have a few different kind of channels that I can be reached through. So one is my website, and of course I'll send that to you. You can link it down below the episode if you want, but it's just forestnash.com.au, because I am based in Australia most of the time. If you go to forestnash.com, it'll redirect there anyway, but that's my website. Has all the details about my coaching services that I provide, and a contact form there, and my email address. And then social media as well is another great way to get in touch. So I'm on Instagram, is just at Forest Nash, and then Facebook, Forest Nash Fitness is my page for my business there. So I post semi-regularly. I'm trying to become more of a social media person in recent months. Just I historically haven't been that active on there, but I recognize it has a lot of power. It's a great way to connect with people, and so that's something I'm definitely leaning into now. And I always encourage people, please reach out if you have questions about plant-based nutrition or training or whatever it may be. If you're interested in getting in better shape, improving your health and fitness on a plant-based diet, I want to help you. I feel supremely privileged to be able to do what I love for a living. I have my dream job helping people achieve their fitness goals on a plant-based diet, and using the knowledge and experience that I've gained over the years and the lifetime that I've had on this journey. And it's tremendously fulfilling for me to do that. So if you have questions, I want to answer them. I want to help you. Please don't hesitate to contact me. Shoot me an email, a DM, whatever it may be. I offer free consultations as well. So if you want to, we can get on the phone. We'll chat for half an hour. We'll go over your situation and goals. No obligation. If you're interested in coaching, that's awesome. But if not, hopefully I can at least point you in the right direction. And I sometimes hear from people that contact me and they say, oh, I felt a little bit nervous or intimidated about reaching out. And I totally get that. It's, it can be daunting to contact somebody that you don't know, or kind of start a fitness journey, or take the first step in something that you're not, as familiar with or don't feel as comfortable with. Please do it. I would love to help you. I hope it comes across in this conversation. I'm really sincere about this. This is my purpose and passion in life, and I would like nothing better than to connect with people who want to walk that path and to help you in any way that I can.
Well, that's amazing. All right. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
I appreciate you. It's really cool to meet you, and I'm so excited about everything you have going on. Have a great time while you're here before you go back. Deb, do you have any other questions?
No, it was great having you on. I learned a lot. It was really fascinating. You're a great speaker. You should do speeches somewhere. TED Talk. I don't know.
I think he does. I watched his channel. He speaks at an event. So we appreciate you taking the effort. All right, everyone, that's our show.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Joey and Debbie. It was a pleasure to chat with you. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Great to chat with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see you on a cruise one of these days.
Oh, I would love that. Deb, do you want to do like a word for today?
I think our word for today should be forest.
Yeah. So if you got this far, it's with one R, by the way, because I have two R's in his name. Leave Forrest's name below and your comment, and we'll know that you made it this far. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, yeah,